employee list of birthdays?
We can print one out.
So will this Carl report to present? Or just
I know who I was
He did,
the other day when I said hi to you.
okay.
You were walking around.
wondered,
Yeah.
but
I think I probably had the hat and sunglasses on.
yeah, I thought it was either you or Cam Jansen, because he's got a Jeep.
Hey, Courtney,
Yes,
thank you for getting that back to me.
you're welcome. You guys both got the revised bill day.
Yeah.
Did you guys all receive the revised bill day report?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the change, Courtney?
Just a second, there was a couple of them. So there was a invoice entered and it showed up under the sheriff for contract gravel, and that was a roads bill. They just put it in the wrong place. And there
I was wondering about that one.
yeah, and there was a duplication on Ray Freeman's bill. It was coming out of local option and the comp center, so we had to fix that too.
Okay.
And it coming out of the comm center.
That's my understanding, yeah.
I was just ending my call. What was that about Ray's bill, Courtney?
We entered it in the local option line, and you had it in your comp center budget, that bill, because he sent it to
Oh,
me.
for his consulting services?
Yeah, we were paying
Yeah.
twice, so we had to fix that.
Yeah, 911's been paying that, so.
Okay.
Yep. I think the site development stuff was going through your line item, but the consulting fees from Ray was going through 911.
I'll try to remember that next time we get another bill.
Well, it'll be a little confusing, and I'll try to work with you because some of his bill next time will be, I asked him to invoice this separately because some of it will be site development work that he's doing. That's a little separate.
Just a little bit here, there, you know.
Gene, do you have the radio and newspaper today?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Who did it? The lady. Okay. Down to West Des Moines.
Unless somebody else wants to do it.
I'll do it next week.
Okay.
Yeah, my stepson.
All right, it's 9 o'clock. We'll start off with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
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 Okay, we have one little change to the agenda. The sheriff is under the weather today and will not be making his quarterly report. So with that change, I'm looking for an approval of the agenda.
I'll make
a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that with the change of the quarterly report from the sheriff.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Wait a minute. For discussion purposes, are we going to discuss the salary proposal that is made for the position on IT? We had a letter Friday from Dalton. Does that need to be discussed at this meeting and decided?
Yes, please.
Could we do that during his quarterly report?
We'll just add it into his quarterly report.
Make it-
Okay, that's fine.
We probably won't be taking action on that though today, correct?
Don't know.
Yeah,
Well, I think
we
that,
are gonna
I think
take-
that should be an agenda item when we're doing something like that.
I think it should be too. If we, why don't we add it to the agenda? If we don't take it action, no damage done. If we do take action, it should be on the agenda.
That's fine. We'll add it in. Okay, so there was another change to the agenda, then the motion and the second still stay the same.
Yes, reluctantly, I guess. I mean, I don't really like to add those types of things to the agenda. I just as soon see that be a regular agenda item on the agenda that is published. I mean, we can discuss it, but that's only my opinion. So, you know, I still make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
I'll still second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote with those two changes. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. The minutes, let's do them one at a time. Let's September 28th minutes first.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 28th minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of September 28th minutes. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries. All right, Wednesday, the September 30th meeting.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes from meeting September 30th.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of September 30th minutes. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, first thing up is payables, and there was a change. One was a double bill, and that has been moved to the correct category, and what was the other one again?
Well, I mean, the report I sent you that you're gonna be approving has those corrections in it.
Okay,
Gene had asked questions, and by him asking those, he caught mistakes, which is why I like to hear those. So we have time to get those fixed before we actually cut the checks, which is nice.
Thanks, Gene, for catching that.
Not a problem.
any,
I did have a question, and I appreciate you answering it at the meeting. It was for Soul Service. It was on page 6. It's a MN Tower site, and I translated MN to be Minnesota. So Courtney informed me that it was some work done of the Manning site. So thank you for that clarification, Courtney.
You're welcome.
I do have one comment in the ambulance, where Daryl Baker is asking for a reimbursement for a repair for about $3,400. The issue that he ran into, the ambulance was fixed in the Des Moines metro area, and he could not, our credit card did not have that limit on it. So he had to use his personal credit card to get it out so he could get it back on the road. So that's what that reimbursement for. He had called me and told me about it, so. So we're gonna look into the credit card limits, and I don't know if we want to open it wide open, but we are gonna run into issues like that from time to time.
So he had sent me a credit application for Stivers. And so hopefully we can just at least get a line of credit with a
With
business
them.
down there in case we have issues in the future.
Okay. The other question I have, in the conservation, to a crawl construction, do we have a limit of where we go out to bid? Do we have a number that's we've used before? Like if it's a $10,000 threshold, or it's a $25,000 threshold? Have we done that in the past?
Well, there probably should be something like that in there.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying just to, where's the upper limit?
Well, and does the conservation board do those, or, because I know like on the capital projects, we don't.
I'm assuming they're putting eyeballs on that and they kind of know what that's for in advance. But in fairness, I mean, if we're gonna spend that kind of money, should we not maybe get bids, or maybe there is no one to bid on this particular type project either. I don't know what that project exactly is, so. Dean, do you know what that one was?
Which one was that?
It was for that Carroll, or K-R-A-L construction.
Yeah, I got a text from Jason this morning on that. I asked him about that. Carroll Construction was for the siding and soffit on the barn museum at Swan Lake.
Okay. Okay, and it's probably not many people around to do that, let alone ones that are not busy, so. So that could be why. I just was curious if we do bid those out.
Well, yeah, and I think we did bid that out, but I don't think we got many bids back.
And that happens quite often on smaller jobs. Okay, very good. Any other questions? And looking for a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve the payables.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. All right, the Essex radio project, the generator purchase. Jason, what do you got?
Thank you. So the board will remember that the last time that we were before you discussing this, we expressed some concerns with our original idea to reuse the DC power plant we wouldn't be using in Manning and doubling the capacity in Lanesboro. After the DeRay show, we identified that, portable generators might be hard to come by in the middle of a disaster, and the timing for getting those generators to something like a tower site can be problematic. So we wanted to reevaluate that idea, and so as it turns out, the cost savings in the project is going to more than pay for the cost of adding the generator. So we've gotten some estimates from Motorola, or not an estimate, an actual breakout of what it would save in the project to take that extra DC power plant away, since we didn't use it in Manning, not use it in the project at all. It hasn't shipped yet, so that's the convenient thing about this, is that there's no return of equipment or anything. They just won't ship that equipment, and that cost savings will be realized in the project, and then we'll divert some of that, or or eventually it'll all come out in the wash, that there should be a little bit of a cost savings there. Ray, you have anything to add, or you want to talk the dollars and cents?
Sure, Jason. As Jason said, the extra power plant that was not needed at Manning, because there's an existing power plant there that will be shared. The value of that unit is a little over $21,000. And we then reached out to Schussler Electric, who was the vendor chosen through our previous process for the other electrical work. And he gave us a price for a 15 kW generator, including installation for Lanesboro. And that came in at $10,659. So there's about a $10,000 savings basically with this change. So we're seeking approval of this generator purchase for Lanesboro.
If I'll add too, if the board is in favor of this move, we've discussed how the accounting will work with Motorola on this, because I know the board is, on the midnight hour here of paying off the lease amount with the bond. And what they explained to me is they can hold the money in the project and account for it right now as kind of money that's sitting there, as kind of a cushion should we run into something that changes the cost of the project in some way. I don't actually anticipate anything really too extravagant there, but it is there. And then at the end of the project, during project closeout, if they owe us money, they can cut us a check, or we could spend it with them, which is what they probably would like us to do, but that we wouldn't be necessarily beholden to that. But it would just be a matter of a $21,000 approximately check coming back to the county at the end of the project, if the money doesn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, the money for the generator would need to be paid for, and I think that's been coming out of local option sales tax, and Courtney and I have kind of discussed the accounting of that, and she didn't think it was going to be a big deal to do that. So I don't know if she has anything to add to that or not, but.
Any questions for Ray or Jason? So this was money that was earmarked prior for a generation in Manning, to which we will not be using. And this is also a downsize of what that generation would have been. Do you really feel the need for an on-site generator? I know that Duratio has sparked a lot of interest in it, but I've also known in the past that usually weather events are very localized, and typically you don't see much of a regional problem of finding those things, but I have seen it a couple of times. I've seen it in an ice storm. I've seen it now probably with this Duratio. I can just envision that there was an issue of finding generation. Everybody's business plan has changed over the years, and they don't keep those things around just sitting there because they're expensive. So,
yeah, I think the main issue for me is that the battery backups will keep the radios running. I think they estimate for 8 hours, and depending on usage could go longer than that. The problem isn't necessarily the equipment operating. My concern is that if we don't have power generator there and we go down, I'm not even concerned about the wintertime with an ice storm. If a tornado takes out the power to that generator and it's a 90-degree day, the temperature inside that shelter with all of the equipment running, putting off heat, is going to raise quickly. And without a generator on site running, the air conditioner won't run to keep the equipment cool. So we've got, roughly $250,000 worth of equipment. There, the $10,000 we'd spend on a generator seems like a wise investment to protect that equipment from damage and to keep it operational. It would also be one less thing that we have to worry about in the middle of a disaster or something like that, because it would just make the network harder, and it would we've got backup generators at our other sites that are in the project. This would be the only one without a generator if we did not purchase one here.
Was this generator a fuel driven
Propane.
propane? Okay, thank you.
So Jason, where's this second generator? Where's the last generator going to go? Is this the Lanesboro site you're talking about?
Correct, the Lanesboro
All right.
site. Yep.
Yeah.
We originally, we didn't plan one there, thinking that we would just move that power plant and we'd have double the battery capacity. But wouldn't be in my tenure, we've lost power for the current Lanesboro tower. When the tornado went and hit Lake City, we lost power with that repeater. We lost power to the breeder repeater that night as well. And the backup batteries would certainly help, but 8 hours into the incident, it goes off because it was running and nobody was able to get there with the generator because everybody was busy and stretched thin. Then we're going to have radio communications problems. So it's our recommendation. I think Ray would agree that the generator is a wise move.
Well, we're trying to build a good new system here, and that system is going to be required of heavy use probably during a disaster, and that's the last time you want it to fail. So I think it's a wise move.
I would agree.
It is good insurance for the equipment there.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Okay, so you're looking for approval of this proposed contract. Is that what you're looking for today, Jason?
Correct. And just to make sure the board's okay that we don't ask for a change order right now, that we account for, Motorola calls it an ERA. I'm not even sure what that stands for, but that they just account for that money in the project.
Equipment return authorization.
There you go. Thank you, Ray. So we'll do that. We'll do that paperwork with them, and then they won't ship that equipment, and the value of that will be held within the project until we do a final change order at the end of the project.
Sounds good, Jason.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we authorize the purchase of the generator for the Lanesboro Tower site.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ray?
I don't have anything for you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Okay, the next thing up is we have a couple of plats for review today.
On the plat in Willie, Iowa, lot 11 is appears to be within the city limits. Is Willie approving that and we approving lot 1, or how is that working?
Yes, you are only looking at lot 1 of the southeast southwest. Lot 11 will be handled by the city.
Okay, very good.
That's right, right. I second guessed myself after I said it out loud.
That's how I am. Okay. Any more questions on those two plats?
I got quite a few. Got 1,
Oh.
2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5
They're on
plats.
there.
Yeah, them last three are the same area. They're just,
Yeah,
changing boundaries.
Right.
correct.
Um,
Some of it is
2 of them are not, 3 of them are.
like the,
Actually, there are 3 in total when we get done. Is that right?
There's 5.
5.
but 3 of them are the same place, basically.
Right.
I will make notion that I did discuss with Courtney, but prior to the meeting on efficiency of our plot proving. I did receive a complaint, and going forward, I'll have a conversation back with the guy and just discuss our policy and procedures and why we do what we do and why it goes through so many hands as far as the recorder to the auditor and GIS. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the plots.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion on them? Okay, if not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the sheriff is off the table today. The IT quarterly report.
Thank you very much. Been a pretty busy quarter, so we didn't really add a lot of new computers, to be honest. We've been through most of the Windows 7 transition and getting all the computers for departments upgraded. So we ended up doing a laptop for the new cruiser. And then we also got a PC for the new deputy that came in. Out of the conservation, we ended up getting a new PC in up there. And then we replaced one of the laptops in the Ranger truck out there. Spent a lot of time with electric computers. We had the meeting election, obviously, that was pretty big. So I spent probably 3 or 4 days getting those upgraded and ready. There's some challenges to that, obviously, for security. So the engineer got a new employee, as we know, so I had set up a temporary workstation for her. When Becky ended up retiring, we moved all her computer information to Becky's computer. So that was another project we had, and got her workstation all moved. We've been upgrading more and more to fiber in our network. We ended up running some fiber between us and the comm center. Before that was a older copper connection, so it gives us a little better throughput to the comm center and helps with backup some too. So we also did an IT switch upgrade in that process when I ran the fiber. So the switches that talk in between the two, Jason had got a new one and so did I, and they have a pretty high throughput now. Tyler, as everybody knows, got hacked. So we took some precautions to protect ourselves. We removed all of Tyler's remote access ability to our network. So if they had any ability to get into the servers, do maintenance or anything like that, we made sure they have to kind of knock on the door first now to us before any of that will happen. We also did the reset of the Tyler user passwords for their accounts. So if those were leaked at all, then no one will be able to get our network and be able to get into anything. We're doing a camera install with the engineer right now. I haven't had much time to work on the project, but we do have a camera mounted up there. So we had an issue where somebody may or may not have got into some office programs. So we did set up a new security in our office that allows us to globally lock our logins only to the United States. So that was an upgrade that Carl and I configured a couple weeks ago just to protect ourselves. We had talked a few weeks ago about approving an incident response plan. If you guys recall, you ended up approving it for me. So we ended up doing the pen testing, getting the pen testing approved, but it's pending for scheduling. And our cyber hygiene scans have started, which tells us how vulnerable we are to attacks from that side. So far, on all the scans, we came back with a clean bill of health, no vulnerabilities, so that's a good thing. Carl spent a lot of time reviewing HIPAA policy, so I know he sat at his desk for about a month there, working on HIPAA policy every day. So we're getting our use out of him. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the quarter. Do you guys have any questions?
The conversation with Shy Battery going okay to the jail?
It is. I think if I recall, they're going to approve, going to request a new fire suppression system. You guys may have got an email about that, if I recall.
Yeah, we've been on the table for discussion a couple times, so.
Cool. As you know, I no longer have Louis Grody as a contracted tech. He did disconnect service with us. Took another opportunity. Wish him the best of luck. Sounds like he got a pretty good deal where he's going, so it was a no-brainer for him to move out. So, as you know, we're looking for a new tech. So I did send everyone an email requesting the approval of the salary.
That was on Friday, right?
Yep, it's on Friday. We've done 5 interviews. We had some really good applicants. This guy really shined to us. He had really good knowledge of our network, at least how it works. His knowledge is very transferable. So I think he'd be a really good asset for our team. He's had experience with our server stacks, switches, among other things, and he has some good customer service skills. So we are seeking approval to hire an IT technician.
Okay, any questions for Dalton? I guess we just as well include the IT position in this conversation while he's here. I think we're pretty close. We put a 75% onto the discussion, 75% of Dalton's wages as a mark to start on. What Dalton sent us on Friday, I thought it was so close that it's basically a moot point. And like I said, I talked to Dalton this week. I'm not sure that percentages, and I know that we do other departments, whether they're deputies, and they get certain percentages depending on their skill level. This I just look at as another employee type. I'm not so sure the percentages is that important. It was just a guideline to kind of give us a springboard point. Because we were looking for maybe an entry-level position. We weren't looking for another person of Dalton's capabilities right out of the chute. We were looking for someone that we could kind of groom up to fit more of our governmental type thing rather than coming out of the private, because it's a little different with the HIPAA laws and everything that we have. The sheriff's department has their own set of issues that has to be dealt with. So, and that will take time to get people up to speed on those degrees of confidentiality. So, I guess I have no problem with it's a person that's going to work underneath Dalton. He's going to be taking care of him from day to day, or this person from day to day. I just assumed that he would hire him, and we would have agreed that we would spend the money to hire a person. So I guess I have no problem with him going ahead. I don't see that as a big issue. We're talking about, I think, about $2,500, so.
If I remember correctly, our conversation, when it was on the agenda a few weeks ago, we gave the IT department permission to move ahead. We gave them a scope range of salary, so I have no problem moving ahead, especially with the suggestion made on Friday through an email, keeping us informed and the salaries within range. I have no problem moving ahead with this request.
And what is this? We're in mid-October. This person, should they accept the position, is probably a 2-week at best turnaround. Could be 3. Sometimes people request 3.
Well, sorry, did we?
But that's gonna put us close to the first part of November. And Carl's got some vacation time, so I know that his last day officially is the end of the year. His last day of working is closer. His last official day is January 31st, in that range. But his last working day is somewhere around Christmas. So it'll be some bits and pieces in and out from that point on, but a person that'll be here every day, we won't have anybody. I'm sure Dalton can keep up with just coming out of the election. They'll have some things that he needs to spend more time on that side of it than the rest. So I don't anticipate any big problems, but I think the quicker we get them online, the better off we are.
A caveat to that, the applicant that we're seeking to hire is going to be moving quite a distance to get the job. So I was hoping to be able to hire him sooner rather than later to get things in motion, because I'm sure it's going to be more than 2 weeks seeing his situation, so.
Did we or did we not say move ahead? We give you the permission as a department head to hire your employee.
Yes.
It just, we
Said keep us in the loop. You know, so.
you extended the guideline that we gave you for wages, and that's what the conversation was about Friday.
Yes.
Well, Friday, Dalton emailed us and asked if the salary was acceptable. I think since he asked, we should answer that question. And even if it does fall back on our original saying that we would approve that and get that document in the minutes that it is approved if that's the case.
I agree now.
I have no problem with that salary.
So
Yeah, if that's what you gotta have to do it, it's close within that range. Can I ask how many applicants you did interview or you had apply?
I think we had 12 applicants. We ended up interviewing 5. Like I said, we had some really, really good applicants where they would have been a great fit. There was just some extenuating circumstances with some where they didn't fit, but this turned out to be the best fit for us. So,
Well, I think go ahead.
it's okay with me.
Let's go ahead with it.
Okay, so you want to put it in a motion then, Neil? So that way we've got it on record that we're going to allow the IT department to advance the salary guideline that we've given them by the amount of money that he had talked to us about.
I'll make that also move.
I will second that. Okay, any more discussion on that? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Dalton.
no, thank you guys.
Thank you, Carl, for the work too. All right, the next thing up is the GIS quarterly report.
Good morning.
Good morning, thanks for having me, guys. So this past quarter, I've spent a lot of time webinars, classes, as after I accepted the position, I was scheduled to do in-class classes, and COVID, that did not happen. We currently are using ArcMap as our GIS program, which we've talked about before. It is going away, and they're going to be upgrading us to ArcPro. So ArcMap will be discontinued 4 to 5 years. That time range has kind of changed a little bit with current situations. I was able to take the fundamentals and intermediate classes, so that way I could do everything that we need. And Carl has been super helpful in directing me in the right path. That was a week-long class. And ArcPro was another week-long class where I took the fundamentals and intermediate, so I get the knowledge that we need going forward to progress into where ArcGIS is transferring. Within that, I have been doing an ongoing fixing up the curves in our maps. They have extra vertices, and to upgrade the parcel fabric, we have to get rid of those. So that's a fun project that I've been working on in my downtime. With easement searches, realtors are asking about easements. If they're not on the maps, we are updating those. We started, when did you start putting easements on the maps?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago.
So there's quite a few easements prior to that people have been asking. So I've been searching recorder's files, looking for those, and then adding them to the maps so they can find them easier. So that's been a fun project. SOS, Rapid SOS, we do a quarterly update of our MSAG, and we met our grant qualifications, so we did receive that. We've received it every quarter this year and prior years. The assessor's office did have aerials flown this year, so we are updating all of our maps. If you look on our online, they get those updated to the new aerials, so it shows some buildings that were removed, and we do that every 2 or 3 years, I think, in the assessor's office, they do.
Not every 3 years. One of the interesting things now is if you look in certain sections of the county, you can see the flattened corn.
Yep, if you zoom in.
They did a refly of parts of the county, and parts of that picked up after the derecho went through, and you can see the corn down. It's and it's all 3-inch resolution. So by flying it later with the leaves on, they got backed up earlier in the spring, so we agreed to have them go with a later flight. And they, to compensate us for that, did 3-inch resolution for the whole county. So it's very detailed imagery. Encourage you to go on and take a look. It's on our website. And then, of course, you can always ask Sarah to show you different places, but interesting to look at that photography.
Yeah, just
Well, I noticed that on that plat for Eugene Tigas to the east. You can see that corn in there.
Yeah.
I did notice that already.
And the frame of the jail is up. Not everything on it, but so it's some nice and recent photography.
Yeah, and just, I think you said it was west of Glidden, you can see a nice area of that flattened corn. As you guys referred to, Carl is leaving me at the end of the year, and I'm going to miss his guidance. So while I had him here, we did have meetings with council to discuss plotters, what I'm going to be looking for, what I'm going to need, what's going to be beneficial for the amount of maps we print, not wasting ink. So I got some good knowledge with him, and we've kind of looked at where I'm going to go after he leaves me. In that, I did create a few maps to help with tax districts and infrastructures. It's been a fun, informational quarter for myself. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for GIS?
I have none.
Training going good?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot of great things and tools, and
Feeling more comfortable about
absolutely.
not,
I'm still doing these things.
no, I know, but we want to
Yes,
get ourselves,
I'm feeling very
not that
comfortable.
we don't want him, it's just,
I try not to bug him as much,
Okay.
and I take a lot of notes.
Okay.
So
pretty good. A lot of knowledge there.
it's a lot of knowledge there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You okay, Mary?
Sheriff and the clerk, and
First off, I want to say happy birthday.
Thanks.
You start that meeting off right.
Hi, Gary.
Okay, the next thing up is the zoning quarterly report.
All right, so basically 15 building permits in the last quarter. 2 of them were airport. Just to dwell on that just a little bit. One of them was over on Phoenix. Well, you can't even see the airport from there. But they were required to go through that 20,000 foot. They were in the 20,000 foot. Actually, they were still in that airport protected space. And the reason they had to apply to FAA was because of a navigational facility that doesn't exist. But FAA still has somewhere in their records that there are some of these places that are subject to a navigational facility, so they have to jump through the hoop of applying to FAA and then going through the airport, and then we'll approve the permit. The Jim Halber grain dryer is outside the 20,000 feet, but he's still within the approach of the airport. So even though that's out further, we still had to do an application through FAA to replace a grain dryer down there for him. So it's just one of those things that you just about have to check everything. But we've got it all laid out on the GIS map where that 20,000 foot buffer is and where the approaches go all the way to the edge of the counties. So basically anything that comes in there, we run through the notification tool through FAA and see if they have to actually go through them or not. So sometimes it gets frustrating, and believe me, the property owners don't like the wait, because FAA can take up to 45 days to do an approval. And especially on the ones that, on that navigation facility that doesn't exist, 45 days is not reasonable. But we're stuck with it. We did have one Board of Adjustment meeting. George Johnson down by Coon Rapids, they put in a bulk LP tank, and that was in conjunction with Al's Corner. And so since it was a agricultural related business, but wasn't totally agriculture, we had a Board of Adjustment meeting, public hearing, and that was approved. Some of the things I wanted to address with the zoning commission before I leave was some issues on actually adding the airport zoning ordinance reference into our regular zoning ordinance so that people would be aware that they're subject to it or could be subject to it. Right now, the excuse me, the state exemption for farms mentions that all agricultural and related buildings is exempt except for floodplain, but it doesn't mention airports. So I wanted to amend that to put airport zoning in there and make a reference to that, so people knew that reference, and then also put in a reference on height structure. We also have been discussing for a while minimum lot size for existing acreages. Currently ½ acre, and we thought we might want to bump that up a little bit, mainly for septic systems, make sure that they've got enough room for septic systems, and a time limit on the 5 acre, converting 5 acres. So right now, if you go out there and buy 5 acres and decide you want to sell some off right away to somebody else to make them smaller lot size, we don't allow that unless you were, unless that acreage site existed. And it's probably been about 15 years ago. Well, we don't want to keep doing that in perpetuity. So we're talking about, well, do we say, okay, if you got a 5 acre amount plotted off, then in 10 years or 5 years or 10 years, you can go ahead and subdivide that off again and put a more reasonable time limit on that. So that's one of the things we're discussing. And then some counties, you know, when we do a variance, The technical definition of a variance is hardship. And mainly, basically what it says is if you can't use that for anything else, you can get no value out of that property, then you can get a variance. But if you can get any value out of that property without the variance, then we're not going to allow it. Now, a lot of counties are usually the good old boy, well, if it doesn't hurt you, or it doesn't hurt anything else, then we're gonna grant you a variance. But some counties have gone to what's called a special exception of like a 50% variance. And the variance would be based on a practical difficulty, not on a hardship. So somebody wanted to, if you had out in the ag area, for instance, you got a 30-foot or 60-foot setback from the road for non-ag. And somebody needed to or wanted to build up to 30 foot, that'd be a 50%. And it wasn't a practical difficulty. You know, it's not going to be a hardship generally out there, but it could be a practical difficulty. Maybe you've got a ravine running there or whatever the case may be. Then they could come to the Board of Adjustment and get a special exception rather than a variance. So we're in that kind of discussion too. Which leads me to my next point. We've got these issues that we want to discuss. We're in the point now where by the end of the year, you're going to need 4 zoning commissioners. 2 are going to be leaving because of the legislation or have left. And 2 more are asking to basically retire. Keith Potoff's been doing it longer than I have. Like about 32 years. Dan Jansen's been on there for 12 years, and he's asked to be removed at the end of the year from the zoning commission. So we really need to fill 4 spots there. With 3 people, I need all 3 in order to have a meeting. We tried to have one in the end of September and couldn't have a meeting because we didn't have a quorum. Board of Adjustment's even more critical because if you not only need 3 people there, but they have to all agree in order to pass anything. So you can't have like a 2-to-1 vote. You have to have a majority of the board, not a majority of those present. So it's really critical to get those positions filled. I know it's tough to do since we can't use anybody in the 2-mile area. We can't use anybody in the city limit, but that's something that needs to go.
I've got probably 3 or 4 phone calls out, and all I've got back is I'll get back to you in a few weeks. They're busy in the field, but they've got other issues going on, and a lot of people don't want to make the commitment. And I think this is the ongoing volunteerism that I think that everybody in the county faces, from fire departments to ambulance to people just don't want to make commitments. But I've got phone calls out. I've been reaching out to people. Hopefully I'll get some more responses back in the next week or 2 and start clipping off a few of them at least. If you do have someone in your area you think that they probably might, ask them, see if they want to take a stab at it, and let me know. Like I said, I've got some people I'm working on, but I'm trying to get it sprinkled around the county and not just stay isolated. And that's getting hard. So.
I would say too that some counties, and it's not a requirement, but some counties do offer a stipend or reimbursement on their travel. Right now, these commission members get nothing. They're just donating their time and travel. So that's also an option. It gets tough. Also, I've been kind of keeping Carrie apprised of some things that come up. Just phone calls like these utility scale solar that I think I talked to you about at one point, that there was an inquiry and the possibility of a 300-acre utility size solar farm. Hasn't been anything else on it, but at least it's out there on the horizon somewhere. Also got a call this last week or a week before on tiny home on wheels. park, so it'll be technically a mobile home park. Right now, the places they were asking about were not in our jurisdiction, but they were calling for me to know what our rules would be, which should be basically having to zone for a mobile home park. And of course, the airport and floodplain administration, rural subdivisions, things like that to come up. So I think you probably ought to consider doing a new comprehensive plan next fiscal year. And it'd be a good thing for Gary to go through on that. Probably would have Region 12 head that. And that's what we've traditionally done. They've been about the most reasonable price-wise. But that's all I've got.
How's the communication been with the airport commission?
Very good. Yeah, it's been good. In fact, I talked to Greg Seaman about the proposal that we had on incorporating some of that airport zoning language into our zoning ordinance, and he didn't have any problem with that either. So you also will need to be revising that airport zoning ordinance at some point to incorporate some of this language that isn't in there. But that's going to be that's a cooperation between the city and the county, because both would have to adopt that. Right. So.
Okay.
So Carl, I've got a question on these positions that we need to get filled. They have to be residents of the rural areas, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so
Glidden has a 2-mile radius, and so does Carroll. So you gotta take those out also.
So it was difficult getting these positions filled in the first place. I can't understand why the legislators reduced that pool of individuals. I mean, it's just crazy. Is there some pushback from
on that
zoning administrators like you over this legislation?
We all contacted our legislators and they all voted for it, our local ones. The whole impetus behind that was that there was a state legislator in Johnson County who was mad at the Johnson County Board of Supervisors, and push came to shove, and he said, "I'm going to show you," and got the legislation passed to restrict it. Didn't like the fact that there were anybody non-ag or not living in the area help making those decisions. There's also was discussion that maybe even farmers shouldn't be on there because farmers are exempt. So you never know where they're going with this.
So who do you have left?
Yeah, there are very few renters out there.
That's right.
Very few.
So, yeah, this is crazy.
All right.
But if you do keep your ear to the ground, if somebody mentions that they might want to have anything to do with it, let's see if we can talk, visit with them about it. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, Dean, the contact tracer position, we've got about 15 minutes here.
Well, I'll try to hurry through that then. I can do that. So we had a couple meetings last week, one interviewing, and there were 9 applications for this position. And we chose 6 that had medical backgrounds. And so of those 6, 3 did not respond. One we talked to as far as this was a very good candidate. However, the individual has a full-time job, and it would have been difficult for this individual to give enough time to this contact tracing that is needed. In the interview process, our public health nurse, Sarah Schulte, did attend with us. And that was very helpful because she could then, because she has done this, could then explain what is all involved in contact tracing. So one of the issues that really stood out to me was when you have a positive individual, she said it takes about an hour to interview this person and to fill out all the data that is required. And so if you have a full day to put towards this, you can do about 7 individuals. Well, last week we had 125. On Friday, we had 30 alone. And so, you know, as far as multiplication of positive cases going, we could at some time in the future have another 250. One of the test sites said that last week they had 40% positive, a positive rate. So, you know, there's a lot of spread out there. And so the concerning thing was how long it takes to interview these individuals. And then you have to go ahead and contact all the other individuals that were in contact with this person. And so it's a huge job. And it was good that she was there to explain that. So of the 5 individuals that actually, of the 5, we had three responses, and those are the 3 that we interviewed. 2 of them were RNs. One actually had a bachelor's degree in nursing. So we had very qualified candidates. The one that was a director for was a past director for an institution similar to New Hope Village. So this individual, when interviewed, said that she was very interested in the position. She became eligible in July because she was let go. However, she has applications out for another full-time position. So that kind of took her out of the mix for now. And so we got it down to 2 individuals. These are both RNs. And like I said, one has a bachelor's degree. The one who has a bachelor's degree, and let me go back. The one is retired. She is a nurse for 41 years and has time available. So that's good. The other one is a stay-home mom, but she has very good credentials. So she has preschool children. The other thing is that when she told us she was interested in this position, she took an online course with Johns Hopkins University on contact tracing. And so, I mean, she's very interested in it. And both of these individuals just want to help. You know, I think they could have time available to do this position. So I guess, you know, when I look back, I did some research on myself about the Johns Hopkins course. It's a 6-hour free course. So, I mean, she applied some time and she got certified by them. This course also is required by all contact tracers in the state of New York. So we have 2 very good applicants. My position was to hire 2. If it takes so long, it's only going to, the thing is that if you have, say, 40 cases, it's going to take 40 hours. But if you have 50 cases, it's going to take more. So we're not going to pay anybody any more for what they're doing. We're just going to probably get it done a lot quicker. And so I think that's the goal that we're doing. I don't think any of these are looking for a full-time position here. They're not looking for 40 hours a week. We're looking at maybe the consensus of the interviewers was to actually hire 2. The one has not actually confirmed yet whether they were going to take the position, because there's some things going with her family life at this point in time. So what I'm going to recommend is this, that we hire the one individual, the retired individual, who will have time to do this. And that is Shirley Tomka. And my other part of my recommendation is to leave this hiring open so that we can hire other individuals that are qualified, like the other two, who basically have availability issues that they have to work through. So we're not going to spend any more money by having 2 or 3 or 4, because it's only an hour that they can basically put towards this. It's work that needs to be done. The more we have, the more timely the process will be completed. So I guess that's my recommendation. Any questions?
I appreciate your recommendation. I do have one question, and it's more just clarity. So let's say hypothetically I go get tested and it comes back positive. So that contract tracer is going to call me and we're on the phone for an hour.
Yeah, it's basically there's a lot of data. There's I wasn't aware of that either, but there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. A lot from that individual, and a lot of times it's you don't get a lot of the questions answered as quickly as possible. You're dealing with probably upset people. This has been disruptive to their lives. It's not an easy thing. Is Carrie in the room? Are you in there, Carrie?
Yeah.
Carrie's right behind you, back here.
Carrie, can you help me explain that?
I'm moving.
She's gonna move so you can see her better.
Okay.
There we
My
go.
understanding is that hour includes not just talking to the positive person, it also includes talking to all of their contacts. So it's not just an hour strictly with.
So it would be
Yeah.
with me and then you would call whoever
Yes,
then.
so they call you,
Gotcha.
they get your data, they've got a database, they put your information in the database, then you have to give them all of your contacts. And so that hour, and she said an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many contacts that person has had, contacting all of them and getting the same information from them that they asked of you. Do they have any symptoms? Those kind of information. So the hour to hour and a half includes the whole case and not just one person.
And I got that wrong. I thought that was just for the one positive individual.
Yeah, no, they said that the one individual, they may talk to them for 10 minutes. It's the tracking down of the other contacts and getting their information that takes a lot more time.
If more than one person is hired, who or how would the workload be distributed amongst the 2 people?
Well, actually, there's probably going to be about 6 people who will be, and this includes Carrie herself will be in this process as well as Megan Owen, Sarah Anderson, and Becky Vanami have all volunteered to do this. And the direction will come from the public health nurse. She will get the information from IDPH, and she will distribute the workload to all the individuals. Is that correct, Carrie?
Yes, each person is gonna get an IDES number and account. And so each person will be getting the notifications of positive cases. But there's gotta be coordination, which is gonna come from public health on who's taking what and keeping track of time and that.
Okay, thank you.
So basically we have this block of work that has to be done, and we can have one person do it, but it may take that person 5 to 6 days. Where if we have 6, we're not going to spend any more time on it. The hours are all going to be the same, except that we're going to get it done in a more timely fashion. You know, it's just like on Friday, there were 30 cases. You know, there may be another 125 cases this next week. So theoretically speaking, that's 130 hours that has to be appointed to getting this process completed.
All of the cases that they received prior to us taking it back, the state keeps. So we don't have to go back and start dealing with the cases that we didn't have prior to when we're requesting the program back. So starting Tuesday, any cases we get will be ours to contact. Prior cases are still with the state.
So with the board's approval, you know, there is a training session set up this afternoon for all that can participate, and contact tracing will begin tomorrow in Carroll County.
Are we ready to go for tomorrow, you think? Is there anything-
Well, I can see with what you're saying, that the number of cases we've been getting, it's almost impossible for one person to do this. It has to be more people.
Well, I think we're kind of going down some uncharted water a little bit too, so this may have to change on the fly here a little bit too, but it sounds to me like you've done your due diligence, and it's kind of wherever we're at, so.
I think the two applicants that we really like are okay with working 5 hours a week, but they're okay with working 40 hours a week. And, you know, and the thing about it is that they each have, I think they like the situation of having more, because they can have, if they have something come up in their lives, then there's somebody to take their place. You know, I'm afraid that, you know, we want these people to be here for as long as this goes on. We don't want to have to do this hiring process over again. And so I think we got good applicants. I think we want to treat them well. And this is not I mean, I think, Rich, I think you made the comment that who would ever apply for this position? You know, I mean, it's not an envious job by any means.
Oh, no. Okay. So you're looking for a board approval? Is that what you're looking for, Dean?
Looking for board approval to hire Shirley Tomka and possibly hire 2 other individuals. And then if something changes from that, I guess we'll come back to the board again. Does that sound about right, Carrie?
Yeah.
And they're on the understanding that this could be flexible hours, that there may be only 1 hour, or maybe 30 hours. Okay.
Yep. And they also know that this is a part-time position. It has no benefits at all, and that it could be a 6-month job, or it could be a 12-month job. So.
But the first 2 weeks they're gonna spend at public health. Okay. So they can get any questions they may have answered directly from public health. So once they get the hang of it, then they would shift to the courthouse in my office. Okay. And then use the emergency manager's office and computer. And then once they felt comfortable, we need to supply them with a laptop, a phone, and Wi-Fi if they don't have it, so that they could work on the weekends at home. Or after hours if they felt they wanted to do that. That would come later.
One good thing about having various people in the county do this is there were a measure of efficiency or accountability on each of the employees. For example, how many people did you get done today and why? There'd be a comparability factor. That's good.
Hold on just one thing. Carl, how many people are online right now?
6.
Okay, and also, I want to make the announcement, if you are online, you have any comments or any suggestions and want to be heard today, remember there's about a minute or a 2-minute delay. So if you have any questions, please send them in right now. And hopefully we can get your question solved. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure, because we do have a little lag and want to make sure that everybody knows that.
Well, and another thing I thought of it, by having multiple people doing this, that also protects us from the case if one of them becomes sick, that the job can continue on. So we don't have disruption there.
Okay, so I just got a text that the second individual has now confirmed that they will take the position. So we will have 2 people actually in this part-time position, which I think is a very good thing. I believe that they can share a lot of these duties going forward. So they're just going to split the time.
Yeah, we're hiring for hours. We're not really hiring for people.
Yeah,
We're hiring
exactly.
for hours. We got 20 hours worth of work. If it gets spread 4 or 5 ways, that's the way it is. Okay,
We're hiring to get the job done.
correct. All right. So do we need a motion?
I can make a motion. I'll make a motion to hire these 2 individuals, and they would be Shirley Tomka and Carrie Charles. Carrie is from the Coon Rapids area, and Shirley is from the rural southwest part of the county. And an opportunity, if needed, to hire an additional individual. So I guess I'm hiring for 3 positions, asking for 3 positions.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion, and thank you, Dean, for your work in this area.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Actually, I think, Dean, that Shirley's from up southwest of Arcadia.
So I was close, southwest Carroll County.
So, according to where you live, it is. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion
Thank
carried.
you.
Wait, just a couple more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and do the manure management quick. We got a minute or 2 here. First one up is Roseacre Farms. That's Guthrie Center Egg Farm. They sell all their manure, and it's getting applied some of it gets applied in Carroll County. This next one up is a PI 233 Finisher, Section 24 in Richland. There's no change. Third is Denny Kennebec, Section 13, Roselle. The MMP is updated to soil samples. Aurora North Place, Section 21, Richland is also an MMP with updated soil samples. Bob Danner, Section 22 of Newton is no change. Shown West Site, Section 34 Richland, crop rotation and updated P indexes. Cornerstone Sow, Section 12 of Richland is updated MMP with soil samples. Moonlight, Section 2 is Cameron Township of Audubon County. That's crop rotation MMP changes. Smith Brothers LLP, Section 3 of Sheridan Township is a 4-year updated plan. And Broik Feedlot, Section 35 of Neast is annual update plan. It is 10:15.
Rich, what was that first one, that Rose Acres, was that a no change or?
That's just that they sell all their manure and
Okay.
it gets applied into Carroll County. And I can't tell you where, it doesn't say on the form, so. Okay, it's 10:15. We are going to attack number 8 on the agenda, which is a closed session per Iowa Code 21-5, 1C. That's discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely prejudice or disadvantage to the position of the government body in that litigation. So I'm looking for, I guess, a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second, and we will roll call that.
Ruggles,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Stettler.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we will be back up live after the meeting, after this part of it. Carl, can you take us down off live, please?